I'd like to call the June 12th council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
O Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give them quiet minds and hearts that they may hear thy voice. Help them to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give them strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right. And grant that they have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
As is customary, the moment of silence for armed troops and first responders. Moment of silence. Okay, thank you.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, July 10th, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. Mrs. Dungy.
Here.
Dr. Greenberg.
Here.
Mrs. Panos.
Here.
Mrs. Sohar.
Here.
Mrs. Walker.
Here.
Vice President Rosencrantz.
Here.
6 present.
Okay, just for the public, we're going to move the executive session that is scheduled for later on this meeting up to after the second reading for ordinances. So there'll be an executive session on personnel matters. Okay, we have a presentation by our engineering head,
Thank you.
Nicole Shapiro, and Kyle Harris. On our roads and curbs?
Roads.
Roads.
Thank you, Councilman Rosencrantz, Council, Administration. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on the 2017 roadway resurfacing evaluation and ranking. Just to give you a little bit of history, I started with the township about 3.5 years ago, and when we started, we were coming off of some rough times economically. And originally, when we had started back up our annual resurfacing, we were almost reactive in our approach, and we were trying to play catch up. So early on, we were taking a look at complaints that residents had given us. The information that our council had given us, administration, our DPW, our engineering office when we received complaints. So we were taking that reactive approach and ranking those roadways and seeing what met the severity criteria that we had established. In doing that, we've basically caught up. Now we're taking a look at all of our wards, the entire township as a whole, and we're looking back at 10 years of resurfacing. And we're saying, okay, if the road was resurfaced in the last 10 years, we're in a good standing. Anything that hasn't been resurfaced in the last 10 years, let's evaluate it in 2017 and go forward and come up with a 5-year approach. So we're going to go for the proactive. So in doing that, Kyle Harris, our new DPW director, and myself had gone out and evaluated 457 roads. That's how many roads are left that haven't been resurfaced in our town in the last 10 years. In doing that, we found that a lot of our roads are in pretty good condition. Some of them, not so much. We did evaluate each road on a specific list of criteria, and that's what we had listed up above. Alligator cracking. Was the alligator cracking experienced on that road minor, severe, or moderate? How many potholes did each of those roadways have? What was the number of trench repairs? Was there recent curb construction done on that roadway? Then in 2007, and this is what I had used too when I had first started. There was a maintenance roadway program that was developed by an outside consultant where they had evaluated every single road within the township within the last, every single roadway within the town and used that as their starting point. They actually scored every single roadway in 2007. when I had started, I noticed a lot of those worst roads were done already. So we were in a good standing position at that point. When we had reevaluated this year, we actually used that in our point system. So every single one of our criteria, we had allocated a point system to. So this is a map similar, if anybody's been in my office, behind my computer screen, I look at this map every day. Mine's a little bit more colored because I like to know exactly what was resurfaced in the last 10 years by year. This actually shows you, and Council, you have this at your, in front of you in a colored copy, a little bit more clearer. It's an 11 by 14, so I'm going to ask you to strain your eyes a little bit to look, but it's color-coded. So the blue lines represent any of the roads that were resurfaced between 2006 and, 2007 and 2016. The green represents what has been done in 2017, which is a little bit limited because we were using remaining money from our 2016 contract, and what's going to be resurfaced going forward in 2017 when we put out our roadway contract within the next month. We developed our point system based on 100 points. So again, we talked about the criteria, alligator cracking. Minor, we assigned it -2 points. If it was moderate on the roadway, we assigned it -4 points. If it was severe, it was a -6 points. Now, for every pothole that was on that road, we then multiplied it by 4 and subtracted that from that base 100. Similar with the trench repair. Again, multiplied it by 2, subtracted it by 100. Any road that had a recent curb construction, now you're creating a trench line on either side of the roadway. We subtracted 5 points for those trench repairs. Now, that 2007 roadway maintenance manual that was done by our outside consultant, we had said, okay, well, we don't want to just throw this out because there was some good basis behind that. And there's still some roads in there that weren't complete. So we took a look at the scores and we said, okay, well, the range from 90 to 99, 100 being the best condition roadway, and then the lower number is the worst. We said, okay, that's pretty good, well, -5 points. 80 to 89, we were subtracting 10 points. 70 to 79, we were subtracting 15 points. And what was rare is to have a road that was lower than 69 points. But if we did, it was -20 points. So let me give you a little bit more detail on the criteria. So remember, the first one I had mentioned was alligator cracking. So that's a series of interconnecting cracks that divide the pavement into many-sided, sharp-angled pieces resembling an alligator's hide. Now, if you look at the left photo, that's Cindy Street coming off of Route 9. And now, the good thing about this review is Kyle and I didn't miss any of them together. We were constantly out there together. So we had the same viewpoint. We were looking at the road the same way every single time. So it's what we saw. Now, somebody might look at that Cindy Street and say, well, there's only a crack in the center line. Doesn't look so bad. You know, that's a severe, deep, and wide alligator cracking. That water then gets in there, starts freezing, then thawing, then freezing, and then could create large, large potholes in the center of the roadway. Now, you look at Pensacola Street, and I don't think there's anybody in this room that will deny that that was severe alligator cracking. Very interconnected, looks a lot like an alligator hide. So potholes. We characterized it by holes in the pavement surface at least a ½ an inch deep and at least 1 square foot in surface area often occurs when a serious distress such as alligator cracking combines with excess water, freeze, thaw cycle, and traffic loads. Now, we took a lot of liberty, like when we were defining potholes on the roadway. So perhaps, you know, it was very small, but it was deep. We still defined it as a pothole because it was going to become, you know, greater and severe as time went on. So these are examples. Tower Drive on the left-hand side, that's actually in our resurfacing contract for 2017, I believe. Morganville Road and Amboy Road, severe at the very start of it. There's some good parts about Morganville Road, but all in all, pretty much like that. Gets a lot of traffic. On Morganville Road in that right photo, that's a deep, deep hole. I mean, it doesn't look so bad in that photo, but it is pretty deep. Now, when we talk about trench repairs, that's cuts in the pavement often associated with utility upgrades repairs, such as sanitary, storm sewers, gas, telephone, and water lines, which are backfilled and then topped with hot mix asphalt. Now, that right photo is Princeton Road, PSE&G. So hold your thought. We're going to talk about that in the next slide. Cindy Street, that one in the center, that's just a typical utility repair job that was probably done. The first one on the left, Throckmorton Lane, DPW had probably gone out there and just did a whole entire trench repair to get rid of probably a lot of severe potholes in that area. So when we talk about PSE&G, and I know Councilwoman Dungy is very aware of them because they're all over her ward, Princeton Road, again, that photo on the right is how they did their trench repair. They are mobilizing to start their resurfacing operation. Now, Princeton Road, they actually almost went to center line of the roadway. Sometimes they tend to hug the curb line because that's where usually their utility line is. We had talked to them and we had asked that they do at the minimum on every single road that they've touched to do center line of the roadway when they're milling and resurface. So curb to center line of the roadway. And that's what that photo on the left side shows. That's Clemson Road right there, right? I can't see it, but. So what they had done is they gone to the center of the roadway. Now, there's been some bartering that we've done with PSE&G. For example, we had taken their Duke, a smaller road, and I think they had, I feel like it was Columbia. They did the full width, full length, probably almost 2.5 times the length or hot mix asphalt that we used on Duke, they had then resurfaced on Columbia. Nice trade. Where they're resurfacing any of the roads, in my mind, although we don't have a moratorium on any of our roads, I have requested that they do full width of the roadway should the road be resurfaced within the last 5 years. So for example, George Street was resurfaced in the last 5 years. I've then asked them do the full width of the roadway because we've already made that investment. We don't want you to put that seam in the center of our roadway. We saw what happened to Cindy Street with that seam in the middle of the roadway. We don't want to risk our investment. They've been very helpful and they've been very agreeable. They're starting to kick off their program. Originally, it was June 19th. I asked them to push it because they were going to start June 1st. I said, push it to the end when school is over. I don't want their construction vehicles intermingling with our school children. They've agreed. And as the date comes closer, we are then going to meet with them, have sort of a pre-construction meeting, and then post everything that we know on all our social media outlets. So as much as I know, everybody else in this room and anybody watching and all our residents can know. Now, when I talk about concrete curb, before I had said if there was any recent curb construction, it's a minus 5 points right off the top. What I mean is, and certainly we're not in the business of doing curb reconstruction, but earlier on in the township, this is what was constructed as far as the curb. It was a curb and apron piece, and it's actually one piece. So when you remove that curb, that apron comes up with it. You have a tree planted between the sidewalk and the curb line, those roots pull up that apron. It's very costly to then go and replace each one of these sections. A lot of concrete. So what we've done is in areas where our drainage has been impeded by the lifting of the concrete slab in the gutter, we then schedule the curb construction. Now, I know a lot of people have called the engineering department and have said to me, well, on the street over Cymbeline or Maybelline, you did their driveways, can you come and do mine? And I have to give them the bad news that we're not in the business of doing aprons, but however, when we lift up that piece, we take their aprons with us. So we have to then go and reconstruct that. Hard pill to swallow when the street next door has nice, white, beautiful aprons, but the drainage then flows correctly down that road. So you could see the left photo, that's Seneca, that actually has that concrete gutter that's actually eroded and washed away. And that's a sunny day, and there's standing water there, so something is impeding that. On the right side, you could see that roller coaster. You could see some of that water then stagnant along that gutter line and just sitting there. So when we talk about concrete curb and gutter, we're saying many of our townships' older roadways were constructed with a monolithic concrete curb and gutter. Due to cost to construct, repair, and maintain, the township has worked towards replacing it with concrete curb and hot mix asphalt pavement to the gutter line. So here's an example of Seneca Street after we had done the curb reconstruction. We just resurfaced right to that curb line. So the investment was first made in the curb reconstruction, and then within 1 or 2 years, we usually come back, because again, what we don't want happening is that trench repair along each side to then have water seep in, create potholes, create that, alligator cracking along that joint line. Now, you could see that Cressida on the right photo, that curb repair was done as well. Now, sometimes we do the curb repair because it's a function of the curb and gutter, and sometimes we also do it because it's a function of the drainage on that street. So if we have to start digging, excavating, and then putting new pipes in, we're then destroying the curb and we have to resurface. So this one we had removed then the concrete curb and gutter, and it looks like that's a new inlet piece right there. And that was the construction on Cressida. So concrete curbing, we put a 6-inch face by 18-inch depth concrete curb. Again, another step before we get to that paving. Now, the point systems that I had discussed before is actually listed here. This is Ward 3. I like to use Ward 3 as an example because what I've noticed when I look at that map that I showed you in the second or third slide is that a lot of the roads in Ward 3 have been resurfaced. I know Washington Avenue, which is a complete loop and a very large stretch, hasn't been. And what we've done is we've taken the roadways again and evaluated. If you look at that third column in, where it's like a long description, that's actually the distance along the roadway. So if we're doing part or the whole street, you notice some red font there, red ink on that paper. Those are all the areas that PSE&G is actually doing half width of the roadway. So they're actually doing although it's very painful for Madison Park in that area, and I feel for all those residents that had to live through the construction. At the end, they're going to be happy because once PSE&G gets out, we're going to come in. So Councilwoman Dungy, you might have noticed on our 2017 paving list, there's only Perrine Road that's listed underneath your paving list for Ward 3. And that was done purposely. We want to stay out of Madison Park, let PSE&G get in, let them get out, so that we're strong in 2018 to come back in there. But when we talk about Perrine Road, that is a huge stretch. That's a big ticket item. So now it gives us an opportunity to come in there and do it in one shot. Instead of piecemealing it year after year, we now pause within any of our communities and then come back and do that one long stretch. So this is where we start ranking. At the last column is my cost, and that's straight cost. That's just milling the 2 inches off the top and putting in the 2 inches. It doesn't consider any drainage improvements, any ADA improvements. It's just a very low cost. So now here is what we were thinking about as far as the next 5 years. So again, the blue ink represents what we have done so far in the last 10 years. The green is this year, which completes our 10 years. And then the red is actually the upcoming next 5 years. So what I had done was I had listed those roads right here and just the corresponding year that it would be done. So I didn't want to try and put all these different colors on that map. Again, that map that I showed you right before this slide is in front of you, and it's called 2007 to 2022. So that's the next 5 years after this year. Now, what we need to do is we need to try, now that we're taking a more proactive approach, let's going forward try and invest in maintaining the millions of dollars that we've spent per year over at least the last 5 years. And that's where Kyle Harris comes in. He's developed a program, wants to introduce to us some crack sealing.
Yes, crack sealing is probably the single most important maintenance practice you can do to your roadways. We have not been doing it for at least 30 years here, as far as I can tell. It's more than a maintenance practice, it's more of a roadway preservation practice. What we do is when you get cracks after the first year or the second year of the roadway being resurfaced, we come in, we clean the cracks out, and we put a filler sealant in there. The sealant protects the crack from getting water in it. During the winter months, during the freeze and thaw cycles and traffic running over, that's what causes potholes. So this is really a proactive approach to preventing potholes instead of doing the reactive approach of filling the potholes in after they form. We did a couple demos this spring on a few areas that we identified. This is Valley Vale Drive, which was resurfaced in 2010. It had cracks every 30 to 40 feet, about a half-inch wide down the length of the roadway. So we went in, we filled these, and that's the after effects of the sealant. Go to the next one. And here is a before and after over on Overhill Drive. What our plan is, if we start crack sealing this fall, is we would first hit all the roadways that were resurfaced in 2016. There should be not as many cracks on those. Then we go back to 2015, 2014, and work our way backwards. Once you're about 5 years out, the crack sealing is really not that effective because during that 5-year period, so many cracks have formed and we haven't prevented them. So it's really a practice going forward as we go through this resurfacing program, that every year we come in and seal the roadways that we did the previous year and reapply to roadways that have been done in the last 5 years or so.
So one of the hot topics that have come out of a lot of our meetings with our HOAs is traffic calming measures on our roadways. Some of them are very wide, and it sort of leads to speeding on our roadways. When we work on our annual roadway resurfacing contract, we try and put as much as we can in there. So one of the strategies that we're trying to implement is something to add into our annual resurfacing contracts that would then increase or calm traffic within our neighborhoods. So some of the measures that we're looking at is signage, trying to make sure that people are aware that there's children and pedestrian crossing the roads, especially at that high crossing traffic areas. Thermoplastic striping. Now, that's the almost like raised striping, and when everybody had entered, if you entered from 516 into this lot, you'd notice that there's like a little bit of a rumble strip. Really, that's thermoplastic striping at like 3 different layers that develops that rumble strip. All of our traffic calming measures would have to basically go and coincide with our manual uniform traffic control devices. So it's not that we could just arbitrarily put rumble strips or striping or even stripe 25-mile-per-hour signage, but in our annual road resurfacing contract, what we're trying to do going forward is to look at all the traffic within town, to take what the HOAs have told us about speeding within their communities, to not only have our enforcement go out there and make sure they're, monitoring the situation, but to also have us try and see if we can implement something to put the minds of our residents at ease. Now, certainly we can't engineer the mindset of people. Those that are speeding are more likely going to speed, but however, if they see this or if they travel over some sort of rumble strip or something in the pavement, maybe it'll bring their minds back to, what am I doing? Am I going over the speed limit? So we're trying to add that and implement that. We're in our stages right now of talking with the mayor and administration on trying to incorporate more traffic control measures within our contracts. Now, I think it was, I tried to look back, I believe it was the April 17th meeting when I was here talking about Country Place, which is also known as Old Bridge Manor. I had said during that meeting when we were reviewing the issues with Country Place and the private roads, that I would be back here with Kyle and that we were in the process of doing our ward tours. And instead of answering off the cuff, let me come back to you with a little bit more details on where the roads within Country Place fall within the ranking, not only in that ward, but this is the ranking for the entire township. So again, remember, I had identified 457 roads that Kyle and I had looked at when we were trying to evaluate each of the roads within town that haven't been resurfaced within the last 10 years. Now, that first column lists the streets in Country Place. Now, I had left off Higgins because that is a public roadway and was identified within our list and is going to be resurfaced sometime in the future, and I don't have that date exactly there, but the rest of the roads are the ones that were identified as being private, with the exception of Mount Batten. There's a newer portion of Mount Batten at the cul-de-sac that is identified as public. Now, that second column is the 2017 score, and then in parentheses, it's its ranking versus the 457 roads that were identified. So now remember, 100 being the best, and the lower number being the worst. So 0 worst, 100 best. If you take a look, not so bad, Country Place. The two worst ones were Heathrow Lane and Milbourne Court. They received the lowest score. In the schedule for resurfacing, and this is all the roads, the 457, it says that it's not even due for resurfacing until 2025 or 2026. Now, I use those years loosely because remember, council and administration and the mayor have given the engineering department $1.5 million steady for the last 3 years. That's what I've seen. Maybe it could be more. Certainly, I don't use the whole $1.5 million when I'm coming up with how many roads can we do per year. What I do is I come up with 1.5 million. I minus 100,000 right off the bat, 50,000 for inspection fees, $50,000 for any of the ancillary things, such as you at a curb return. Federal government requires us to make that ADA compliant. You're coming towards a catch basin, an inlet, a drainage inlet. You have to change the curb piece, the inlet cover. Those times miles of roadway are a lot of money. That's not what's in here. Base repairs. If a road, like that alligator cracking photo that we had saw that was very severe, if that requires base repair, that's not included in my cost. So certainly there's, and the price of asphalt. So when we're talking about the price of asphalt in 2017, those are the numbers I'm using. When I go out to 2025, I'm still using the price in 2017. Now, 2 years ago, we were getting some pretty good prices for asphalt. And certainly those asphalt prices can come down or they can go up. At the later years, I started adjusting my total. Instead of the 1.35 that I was using, I was going 1.25 to adjust for the fluctuation in that surface course, in the milling, in basically construction cost. Now, certainly I know in the history of me being with the township, if we put 20 roads in our contract, that year we did 25. And it's because contractors were hungry. They gave us lower prices. So certainly that 2025 could be 2020. It could be that 2026 could be 2022, you know? So certainly things can change. These are not numbers set in stone. There's a lot of variables. And right off the bat, every single year when the assistant township engineer and myself go through the ranking, the combination of what council gives us, DPW, engineering, our residents, we dwindle that down, and right off the bat, we say, what qualifies for CDBG funding? Take them off the list. We have other money that we could use to get them off and resurfaced another way. What can we do as far as local aid? Ticetown Road, going to be resurfaced, local aid. We recently, on tonight's agenda, you'll see Pleasant Valley Road, local aid. The entire length of the roadway is going to be funded, I shouldn't say fully, 321,000, of which we have to come up with 75, but that's a lot now that we could do on other roadways. So with that, we could then maybe push these dates maybe 3 years earlier, you know? So what I'm trying to say is we've been doing the maintenance. You know, this administration, my office had found that those roads were never made public, that they were private. the prior administration and administration before that never knew. So though the maintenance of those roads were done, were they resurfaced? No, but any drainage work was done on them, anything. So if you feel like there's going to be a loss, you would have felt it already. And if you want to know where they fall within the 457 roadways that were identified, I'm going to tell you above average. We were sitting in a meeting this afternoon, and Kyle actually did the math and said above average, all of them, even the worst. So with that said, the next step on Country Place, and that's why I have here 2 bullet items. It's the council's decision. Do you accept the roadway? Now, I had talked to our township attorney, and if you recall the last meeting, I think there was a question that Councilman Green had brought up to me, and he said, did I have the answer? And I said, no, I would have to talk to council. And the question was, I had mentioned to him in a conversation, I believe there was a state statute that stipulates that if a road met the criteria for the town, that we would have to accept it. Now, I was reading this afternoon on what I could find on the statute, and a lot of it said, what is that criteria? You know, and it's up to a town to decide, because there was a couple of court cases I read about, but the bottom line is, we go by RSIS, we go by our land development ordinance. If it meets the criteria in those documents, then it meets our criteria. And I'm not saying pavement width today, I'm saying pavement width today. But the composition was approved back then, and that composition hasn't changed. So anyway, I just want to read to you the statute, and for anybody that wants to look it up, it's NJSA 40:6723.7, which provides, a municipality shall be required to accept for dedication for public use by a qualified private community any road or street within the community that conforms to municipal specifications for public roads and streets. NJSA 40:67-23.1 also permits a municipality to repair and maintain and provide for the removal of snow, ice, and other obstructions from, and provide for lighting of any roads or streets upon which the travel is sufficient. In the opinion of the governing body, to warrant such expenditures, even though the roads have not been taken over by the municipality or have not been dedicated, the statute requires the adoption of an ordinance to do this. So that's the first step on Country Place. So the second step, the resolution accepting the 2017 road resurfacing evaluation and ranking for 2018 to 2022. Those were the roads that I had listed before. Certainly, tonight's the first night that you've seen them. But ultimately, it would be a resolution basically accepting the report that Kyle and I had prepared township-wide on the 457 roads that we evaluated, looking at that criteria, agreeing with it, and then accepting it by resolution.
Is that it? That's it? That's a lot. That certainly is a lot. Very educational, I have to say.
Sorry, I talked too much.
No. It was very informative. A lot of work went into this. Thank you both, Kyle, Nicole. Council, any questions for either Kyle or Nicole?
I do.
Ms. Panos?
So with that filling of the cracks, that pretty much did away with the coal patch, correct?
No, it doesn't do away with the cold patch. You're still going to get potholes. It just prevents the potholes from occurring or likely occurring, and it just preserves the road lengths or the life of the road. So maybe instead of getting 25 years out of a road, we get 35 years out of a road.
Right, but it's hot. That coal patch comes up after 2 rains.
Yes. It is hot. It comes out at 300 plus degrees. You would do it in the early spring or the fall, so it's not in the summertime when it wouldn't would stay hot.
52 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing, as far as speeding on roads, we tried this years ago, and all the emergency services had a lot to say. But if anybody here is from Staten Island, if you ever took the Staten Island Expressway right at Slauson Avenue and Bradley, it always slowed up because of the pitch. When I was taking driver's ed, they actually taught us that. So I took driver's ed many years ago, but they said that the Staten Island Expressway was constructed in a way that the pitch would make the traffic slow down at that, I think it's Slauson or Bradley. So is there any way that the pitch of pavement on certain wide roads would impede speeding?
I could say this with a fact. I lived on Staten Island up until 3 years ago.
Do you remember Slauson
Right.
Avenue,
So
Bradley?
Slauson Avenue is the Staten Island Expressway going towards the Verrazano Bridge. The pitch that you're talking about is the super elevation of the roadway. Certainly, it's definitely elevated in that location,
28,
probably about 4 to 5%. But it's not for slowing down traffic. It's actually, they actually put that pitch or that super elevation on the radius of a curvature on the horizontal curve of the road.
I don't know, it was just, it was.
I thought you were going to
A few
mention,
years back when I took that driver's ed course, and so maybe I misremember some.
I thought you were going to mention the humps, because we don't do humps or bumps, and there's a lot of them in Staten Island.
Oh, no, I wasn't going there with that. I know what this town, the emergency services,
Yeah.
requested
Yeah,
back then.
I mean, even with the rumble strips or the 25 mile per hour, we were looking for strategies on, those are maintenance nightmares. Once you put 25 miles per hour somewhere, every development will ask for it, and it's sort of some sort of safety, that they feel that they're getting when you put that on the pavement. However, because we're in the Northeast and we're salting our roads and it's cold and then it's hot, it doesn't last very long. And then we start to develop money now to start maintaining that striping instead of paving the roads or doing our crack ceiling program. I know I had early conversations with Yardley Manor in which I said, okay, well, let me see if on our 2017 roadway resurfacing contract, we could place them at strategic locations within your development. And they only identified 2 roadways, I believe, from what I remember from the email. And then the homeowners association, even though they're public roads, would then maintain the striping itself. So we'll lay it down the first time, and then they'll maintain it then after. And that's definitely sort of like a partnership that we could do with some of our residents or some of our HOAs, where we own the road, but we can give them permission to, once we stripe it, to then restripe it when it gets weak.
Anyone else?
So basically, in Yardley Manor, we've heard often about the speeding there, and they wanted the thermoplastic strips. They haven't been applied yet, though.
I had talked to, and I think his name is Darren. Don't quote me on that. Darren. And we had discussed it, and I had said, give me the locations of where you feel that they're appropriate based on your knowledge of the speeding. Let me then take a look at those locations and see, based on the MUTCD manual, if they're appropriate at those locations. He had sent me a sketch, and I think it was earlier this month, and I asked him to be patient with me getting back to him because we were working on this program. And any implementation of any striping would be in our 2017 contract anyway. It's not out yet. But I also had said to him, give me the sign-off from the residents on either side of where you want those strips. Because if you, on your way out, and I suggest everybody travel back out to 516 and go over those runnable strips. When you're having Sunday night dinner and right across the street, right on the street, you hear and those people are speeding down those streets because those rumble strips don't slow down anybody. They'll get used to it 1 or 2 times and they'll continue to speed. So I said those people need to be comfortable knowing that when they're having dinner that they're going to hear that. He's now changed his mind, and instead of rumble strips, he wants 25 mile per hour because he feels like when your wheel goes over that, again, rumble strips, 3 layers of the thermoplastic. The 25 mile per hour is just 1 pass.
One more?
And then the other thing on Valley Vale Road, and I'm just using Valley Vale as an example because some residents told me about the situation there, but this happens often. We resurface the road, and it's the end of, say, in the fall, it's done. And then they noticed this alligator cracking pretty soon after the road was just surfaced. Now, during the winter, the asphalt production is shut down. I think the contractor should go back and not the township spend money. Is there a program in place to reevaluate roads right away after they've been done? So if there's a problem, the contractor is responsible and not the residents, the taxpayers.
Valleyville was actually done with NJDOT local aid money. I remember traveling on it, and I was like, oh, I was surprised, you know, especially because it was recently done, and I feel like it was done maybe in 2010, from what I remember. Usually have, well, we always have a 2-year maintenance bond with the contractor. When the 2 years is up, it's not that they come in front of us, it's that the bond is released. You know, their bonding company then absolves them of their responsibility. I have to say, it's up to the engineering department to go and make sure. We've been very diligent in the past, I would say, at least 4 or 5 years on making sure that we're on top of making sure that the contractor, once they get close to those 2 years, we sort of identify any defects. It's a struggle for us. There's 4 people in my department, so it's a struggle, but we stay on top of it. So I'm not sure what was missed, and I wasn't here when Valleyville was done, so I don't know if I could say that I've experienced. I know what it looks like now, and there is severe alligator cracking on there. But it's really too a function of the Northeast. It's to be expected. It's just, I don't like to see it within the first couple of years. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Down to my left. Mrs. Sohar.
Yes, first, thank you, Nicole. This was a great presentation, as usual. My question now is, since we have gone through this process and you've evaluated everything, can we look to the council to start to move forward on an ordinance for Country Place?
Yeah, I would hope that would be the end result for today. They've been very patient. I know that I've asked them to be patient, and the ward tours actually took a little bit longer than I had expected. And certainly Kyle and I think we were up to 2 hours per day that we could actually stand without getting carsick. But I appreciate them being so patient with us, taking just a closer look at the roads. If the council would then deem it appropriate to then either introduce an ordinance at the next meeting. There's not one ready for tonight. I wanted to leave that in your hands.
I think that's a good direction to go in. I mean, it's long coming, and
Yeah.
I think we've reviewed it long enough, and it's time to move forward. So I anticipate on the next meeting with Councilwoman Sohar coming up with the ordinance. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Down to my left. Ms. Walker.
Are we going to also evaluate Deerwood Farm area?
Deerwood Farms, Carol Hodis, who I think she's the secretary for Deerwood Farms. President, okay. I want to say it was 2015 when I had first met her, and we had gone over Deerwood Farms. I'd have to have another meeting with her, because Deerwood Farms is a different situation because it's a higher density planned unit development in town. If it wasn't private, it would probably never have gotten approved. Again, if I read that statute, it has to meet our RSIS or our land development ordinance. From what I remember, and I'm speaking off the cuff, I believe the width didn't meet that criteria. Maybe by a foot, maybe by a foot and a half, not by much. The difference with with the Deerwood Farms Association is they came to me, and initially they wanted us to accept it, but they said, we're having a hard time. We've saved so much so that we can have our roads and our parking lots resurfaced. However, we're having a hard time getting a contractor to give us an appropriate cost. So I had asked kindly of our contractor that was doing, I guess at the time, maybe the 2015 roadway resurfacing contract. And I had pointed him in the direction of the president for Deerwood Farms, and I had said, do me a favor. You have given us a unit cost for resurfacing. They are requiring resurfacing. Our contractor was actually doing Staghorn at that time. I said, it's only to your advantage to actually hold the price, your unit cost, and continue down the road into the Deerwood Farm development and work with her on coming up with the price. You deal with her directly on payment. You resurface her roadway. They made that connection. Deerwood Farms has actually hired CME Associates, who is doing our inspection, to do their inspection as well. They went a step further and did the same thing that we were doing on our roadways. They upgraded their inlets and curb pieces. They videoed, I believe, their storm line. They had restriped their parking lot. Although the other day when we had done the tour, I saw one of the parking lots and it wasn't restriped, so maybe I'll take that back. They made the investment in their community. Certainly, I could take another look at it, but from what I remember, RSIS-wise, I didn't think it met the criteria. So as part of that statute, we would have to meet the criteria. I know one of the stipulations that Carol was mentioning to me, and again, this is from recollection, I have to talk to her again. There's a piece of property when they were developing Merritt's Estate, is it called? Okay. When they were developing that housing development, there was supposed to be a recreation component of it. That lot in the back would then have to be accessed. I think there was some sort of easement between the residential homes, but also there was a there's like an access, but you would have to go through Deerwood Farms, back almost through the parking lot, and to that. That piece of property is actually owned by us. If we were to make that development public, we would then get an easement through that parking lot, and we would gain access to our lot. So we would never be able to make that a landlocked lot. So they have to be open to the possibility that there could then be through traffic in their quiet community. There's going to be some sort of trade-off there. They have to either accept it and say, yes, we still want you to take over our roads, in which that case, we'd want to make sure that every one of those homeowners are aware of the situation and sign off on it. And then we would then move to the next step. Or they could just walk away. I mean, they did it's beautiful back there. Kyle and I, we drove in there and I looked around and I said, oh, we're in Deerwood Farms. It's beautiful, So we're going to have another meeting. I had gotten Carol Holders, she had sent me an email. It's in my inbox. It's flagged. I don't forget about people. It may take me a long time, but I do get there. Yes.
Mrs. Dungy, you haven't gone yet.
Thank you, Nicole. That was a wonderful presentation. And thank you for the roseway that you have prepared over in the 3rd Ward. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, Ms. Silver.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear with the attorney that we are going to move forward. We are going to have an ordinance for next meeting to put on the agenda.
Well, we need to make a motion to accept this report.
I'll make a motion.
No, that's what he said. Okay. Motion by Mrs. Sohar, second by, I didn't hear. Dr. Greenberg.
I have a question. We could put this resolution on, and I do understand all that work you did and what you guys went through, but I did get 2 phone calls after that. I guess people were watching. Is the Home Association going to contribute anything, was the question I got.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That would be a stipulation that the council would then have to impose.
Has that discussion ever took place? Is there money? Mr. Golden, I don't, that's 2 calls I got from that, so I would like to see that. I'm gonna hold off on this until
The motion is just to accept the report.
Oh, to accept the report, for sure. I'm sorry. I thought it was for the ordinance or.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
You have to repeat.
Thank you.
You have to repeat 6 yes.
Okay. 6 yes. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to approval of minutes from the previous meetings, May 8th, 2017, combined and executive. Can I have a motion? Can I have a motion? May 8th, 2017 minutes. Anybody going to make a motion?
Who made that motion?
Mrs. Dungy.
Moved by Mrs. Dungy. I'll second it. Approval of May 8th, 2017 minutes.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. October 14th, 2016, special and executive minutes. I need a motion. October 4th, 2016.
Move it.
Moved by Mrs. Panos. Can I have a second? I'll second it.
Wow, nice cooperation.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. Moving on to October 14th, 2016, special meeting. Motion, please. Anyone?
Move it.
Moved by Mrs. Panos. Second, anyone? I'll second it.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes. 6
6
yes. Last approval of minutes, previous meeting, September 12th, 2016, executive session. Motion, please.
I'll move it.
Move it.
Moved by Mrs. Panos, second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Dungy.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. Moving on to the bill list. Bill list, June 12th, 2017. Accounts payable for June 12th, 2017, $10,056,906.63. Motion, please.
Move it.
Moved by Mrs. Dungy,
Second.
second by Mrs. Panos.
Questions?
Any questions from the public?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Close.
Close the public portion. Vote, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. Payroll, May 26, 2017, $845,386.74. Motion, please.
Move
Move
it.
it.
Moved by Mrs. Panos, second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Dungy. Any questions from the public on payroll? No questions? Closed.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. Payroll overtime, May 26, 2017, $37,231.55.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos, second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Dungy. Any questions from the public? And we do not have a breakdown for tonight, is that my understanding?
Council President, the Sergeant Calvoso, who provides the information about the detail on the police overtime, missed his flight, he couldn't make it, so he just texted me earlier, and will provide the information at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Vote, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. Payroll, June 9th, 2017, $943,847.86. Motion, please.
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Dungy. Any questions from the public? Vote.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
Lastly, payroll overtime, June 9th, 2017, $41,587.01. Motion, please.
I'll move it, Mr. Rosencrantz.
Thank you, Mrs. Panos. Moved by Mrs. Panos, second? I'll second it. Any questions from the public? No questions from the public?
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes. Okay.
That's all for the bill list. Moving on to public hearings and ordinances for second reading. H1, a release and reduction performance guarantee for JCP&L Deep Run Substation Expansion Project, block number 17007, lot number 3.12, application number 43-14Z. Would anybody from the public like to be heard on this? No, close the public portion. Mrs. Shapiro? Bond reduction? Performance reduction?
Is anybody here?
You're here?
We have to ask.
Is anybody here from JCP&L? Okay. Please come up and state your name, please.
My name is John Beil, B-E-Y-E-L. I'm here this evening as an attorney for JCP&L.
Would you sit down and talk into the mic, please?
Good evening. My name is John Beil, B-E-Y-E-L. I'm an attorney representing JCP&L. I can advise you that this afternoon I received an email from Kevin Hall, indicating that the bond was recommended for release.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Shapiro?
Thank you, Councilman Rosencrantz. Just to provide a little bit more detail, the JCP&L Deep Run Substation is actually at the intersection of First Street and Green Street, in which they were doing some upgrades to the substation. What was bonded as far as this project goes was mostly the drainage work that extended from the intersection of First Street and Green Street into the property that discharged into the tributary of Deep Run. The bond that was posted, the performance guarantee totaled $724.60, of which in performance bond was $636,952.14. 10%, which was a cash portion, $70,772.46. The applicant's attorney is correct that Dave Hall from my office did the inspection, found that all the bonded improvements were satisfactorily addressed, recommended that we release the bond, subject to a 2-year maintenance guarantee in the amount of $106,158.69, which represents 15% of the total performance guarantee, and any payment of any outstanding escrow fee.
Mr. Beil, is that acceptable?
Yes, it's my understanding that there are no outstanding escrow fees, but we can verify that.
Okay, council, any questions? Okay.
Need a motion.
Need a motion to approve? Anybody motion to approve?
Move it.
Moved by, I didn't hear. Councilwoman Dungy?
Dungy, you have to speak into the mic.
I just might not do it just to see if they ever do anything. But I'll
Can you second it?
Yes.
Second by Councilwoman Panos. Vote, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes?
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to H2, liquor license renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33004002, Sideline Lounge Incorporating, trading as Club 516 with conditions. Anyone here from the owner? Your name, please?
Rodney Freda.
Rodney Fred. Go ahead. Any questions from the council?
Do you agree to the conditions?
Oh, the two questions, the conditions, yes.
Yes.
The questions, the conditions, I believe, are the parking lot and a door person for ID,
Fridays and Saturday night.
Fridays and Saturday night. You agree to those conditions? No other questions? Questions from the public? No. Okay, close the public portion. Vote, please.
Move it.
I need a motion.
Oh.
Panos? Okay, I need a
Oh.
second.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos, second? I'll second it. Vote, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Thank you, yes.
6 yes.
Thank you, 6
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
H3, liquor license, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-019-007, Swarthy Corporation, trading as Town Square Wine, Liquor, and Bar, with conditions. You're the, please state your name.
First name is Bharat, B-H-A-R-A-T, last name is Ketia, K-H-E-T-I.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Sir, do you agree to your conditions?
Yes.
Okay, any questions from the public? No questions from the public. We're closing the public portion. Can I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos. I'll second it.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
H4, liquor license, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-035-007, Chi-Chi 35 Corp., trading as Diamond Girls, with conditions. Sir, could you,
Everybody, my name is James Adonisio. I'm from the Rudnick Law Firm, and I represent the applicant in this particular application, seeking for a renewal for the next calendar year. Thank you.
thank
We
you.
agree to all the conditions.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions? Open to the public for any questions? No questions from the public. We'll move for a vote. Motion, please.
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos.
Second?
Second by, I didn't hear.
Dungy, of course.
Mrs. Sohar, thank you very much.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Have a good evening.
H5, liquor license for renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-005-016, Seven Star Holdings LLC, with conditions. Is anybody here representing the owner? No one here. What do we do?
Not here?
Nothing, not here.
Well,
Table? Yes?
we just don't hear them.
Okay.
We could table it until, no, we don't have to. It'll come up next meeting.
No vote on that one. Okay, before our executive session, the last item, ordinances for second reading. Ordinance number 1. Number 2017-13, acceptance of a right-of-way dedication to be granted to the Township of Old Bridge for purpose of future road widening along frontage of 295 Pleasant Valley Road, Block 19,000, Lot number 28.12. What do you want to do with that? Anyone from the public want to be heard on this? No one from the public. Public portion is closed. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Panos,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Dungy. Thank you. And you have a question?
Yes, I know this is off English Town Road, and we did, in the consent agenda, we're going to get a state grant, and I'd like to thank Senator Thompson for the senator that helped gets us these grants. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Vote, please.
Okay. Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes. We'll now go into executive. Okay, we'll go into executive session. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Wait,
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Councilwoman Panos, second by Councilwoman Dungy.
It's a resolution to exclude the public pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12:13. Be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Old Bridge that the public shall be excluded from this meeting pursuant to NJSA 10:4-13 for the discussion of the following matter: litigation issue. Be it resolved that this meeting shall reconvene in public session, and that the minutes or other record of these discussions shall be available to be disclosed to the public as soon as the need for it to be disclosed from the public or held from disclosure from the public no longer exists as determined by the vote of the governing body at a public session.
Mrs. Dungy? Yes. Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Left today.
Mrs. Sohar? Yes. Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
5 yes.
Barry Solomon.
No, he,
Test. Okay. I'm here, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to let me speak, but I will say, when I came, I didn't know what to expect. I've been to some town council meetings, but I would say a little disappointed that we did have to wait out there for so long, because we had some special needs, which I'm going to be talking about here, children here with family members and such who now had to leave. So I want everybody to know that, not that they didn't want to be here, but I'm sure you could appreciate with them having to sit around. But I'd like to begin by saying I've not spoken in front of the council before, but again, thank you for allowing me to. While others wanted to be here, timing and other issues, which we just saw, kept them from attending. And please don't think they're less concerned than I am. I've spoken to most of them, are very supportive of what I'm going to say. My name is Barry Solomon. I'm a father of Scott Solomon, who was here, but after an hour and a half, he had to leave. And he's a very special person. My wife, Lori, and I have lived in Old Bridge for over 20 years, and Scott has attended school here for the last 14. At the last meeting, I don't know who was here, but you honored a lot of special needs children for the Special Olympics they did, which was great. They loved it. It meant so much to them, the coaches and the parents. A group of parents and athletes just returned yesterday from the New Jersey State Special Olympics at the College of New Jersey in Trenton, where the athletes represented the Old Bridge Robins in both swimming and track. Well, I don't have the final medal count, but we won numerous gold, silver, bronze medals. The kids were thrilled. It was on TV. It was everything. As such, we hope you'll be able to honor these students at a future meeting. Well, there will always be kids to us that are also growing up. My speaking here today is to request on behalf of myself and the other parents, also the teachers and a number of other people of our special kids whose number is growing, especially here in Old Bridge, that the town begin a group or committee, whatever else you think is appropriate, to begin discussing the needs of our special children. Once they turn 21, they are no longer involved in school, and we need to find something for them to do. Well, Old Bridge Education and the township offers numerous and very good services, including Project Unified, Camp Robin, one of the best programs in the state, Special Olympics, and other programs until age 21. Old Bridge is very much lacking in the 21 and over services. Old Bridge doesn't have a day program or specialty housing. Currently, parents have to look outside the town for these services that do exist in other places, including Monmouth and upstate New Jersey. Well, I know all about running a condominium board. I've been past president, a New Jersey statewide special needs organization. I'm the president and how to lend money, because I work for a bank. I'm asking for some assistance from the town in this request. Well, there are organizations such as the Elks Lodge, which I joined because of all the nice things they do for special needs and everybody else, and who raise money and help the children. There's also a program called Special Projects for Special Children within the town that raises money and helps with those services, but they don't have the capacity to add additional services on their own. So that's one of the reasons why I'm asking. I understand that plans were previously prepared to expand the Camp Robin building, hopefully for some day services, but that had to be put on the side because there wasn't money available. And again, from being involved in what I am, I know budgets are tight. But we have numerous parents who want to be involved. Well, I have not done research yet in a number of other places. I can tell you in Warren, if anybody heard of it, they built Mount Bethel Village, which was one of the best places, I understand, in New Jersey, which were for adults with special needs. This is something that we need to speak about and brainstorm. The township has a very valuable resource in these kids. Anybody they see and meet say how wonderful they are, as you saw last time, and as anybody they work for who meet in the Board of Education. It would be great for them to stay within Old Bridge as they get older. In high school, they obtain work experience, but I also say they get to go on a senior trip to Disney World, which is very nice. Well, we know the budgets are tight, and we're not asking the town to go it alone. We as parents are very aware that we would want to be part of the solution. And additionally, there are numerous businesses, companies, organizations, and other entities in Old Bridge that could benefit from being involved in helping us with our children. I'd like to say our children. I don't know what the next step would be here, but would appreciate anything the council could do to move forward with this very important request. And I appreciate you taking the time for that. I could go on, but today I really want to just have an opening to see if there's something that could be done for the future.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
Thank you.
Steve Goldman.
Goldman, 8 Darien Court, Country Place Development. It's been a long time, over 30 years, that it's taken for the township to get to the point where apparently they're going to take over the roads. I think it's wonderful the way this administration has handled this issue, which really came to light about 3 years ago. The township has been taking care of the roads for the last 30-some years. Nicole, the township engineer, has been superb. We've had meetings with her. As she said, she asked us to be patient. The council asked us to be patient. We've been patient. And as you saw, everything that I said all these years is shown. Even though our development is over 30 years old, we still have some of the best roads in the township. And they will need very little work. Potholes, yeah. Spider, well, yeah. It's going to need some work, but no paving. I saw my block was the best block in the whole development. So I'll probably be long gone by the time my road gets done. And Lucille, in answer to your question, no, we don't have any funds to contribute because we were never told, nobody ever knew ever that we would have to pay in to maintain the roads because the township has been doing it. The only funds that we collect from homeowners' fees are to maintain our common grounds, our drainage issues, our facilities that we have that have to be maintained, which are getting old. As Nicole, I recently spoke to Nicole something we wanted to get rid of, and she says, no, you have to replace it, and we're going to have to replace it. That's basically what we've been collecting dues for. So I did a little rough math last week, and Amancho will probably yell at me if I'm wrong. But since this development has been up, we've paid almost $35 million in taxes. We don't get any discounts. So thank you very much. For all you've done, and hopefully we'll see this on at the next meeting for a first reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman.
Sebastian Pedrick.
Hello, good evening. My name's Sebastian. Relatively new resident in Lawrence Harbor,
Your address, please.
12 Cliffwood Way.
Thank you.
My concern is this proposed cat colony that is kind of happening in our backyards. I've spoke to a couple of my neighbors, my landlord. Nobody has been really notified about it, but there's been a group actively feeding cats behind our house. It's attracting raccoons, it's the skunks. It's become kind of a nuisance. We're not against cats. We have 2 dogs, a cat. We have been practicing TNR tactics for over a year and a half. To date, I've trapped probably 19 cats myself. But what I'm getting at is they have kind of made these accusations against us about trapping the cats, killing the cats, removing the cats from their colony origins, and I've had arguments saying, well, there's no colony in place. I spoke with Captain Mendola of the police department. I've sent him an email. I just want to have some clarification. Is there a colony? Is there a proposed colony? Because all I get is this group of people outside my house, the flashlights going through the vacant houses in the middle of the night. Just kind of concerned about it. That's really where I'm at. I don't know if anybody has any more information I can find.
Mr. Shaw, Mayor, anything?
That activity has not been authorized by the township at all. And with the new ordinance, it would not be allowed to.
That's what I've heard. I also have proof, the Facebook messages that these people claim the colony has been established. They have established feeding locations. They're coming in shifts of 3, 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the evening. They're dumping food along the boardwalk. We like the boardwalk. We kayak, we bike, it's there's litter everywhere. There's paper plates and Tupperware. It stinks. It's not.
That's what I was.
I'm all about helping the cats, but it's I feel like it's more in the name of for the cats, and at the same time the raccoons get.
We'll follow up on that location and see what's going on. I believe the police are handling that, but I will find out.
Yeah, okay. Is there any way that we can like deter them from feeding? Is it illegal to feed all these cats? I mean, what they're doing is they're showing up and just dumping bags of food into trays and then getting in their cars and going home. And we live like right on the corner where we could see them from our deck. It's become kind of like a problem. I'm here because we think it's a problem. You know, we live on a dead-end street by ourselves. It's nice, it's quiet, and I feel like these people have chosen this location preemptively to establish this colony that has not yet passed. So that's, I don't know. So, all right. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Petrick.
Joanne Platt?
Joanne Platt, I live at 10 Harbor Bay Circle in Lawrence Harbor.
No, the bottom. Yeah, that's it.
I have questions about the animal shelter. Back in November of 2016, I sent these questions to various council members and the mayor. I have read receipts, I printed them, and I never got a response. I just wanted to know some things about that I found out. Why is the animal shelter only allocated $5,000 for the medical needs for all the animals for the whole year? I mean, I could spend that in a month for my 2 dogs if they got sick. That's like crazy. And then I heard that the yearly salaries were doubled, that you hired more, or they hired more part-time employees and full-time employees. I don't get it, because I know that there were volunteers working for free. I heard there were 25 volunteers, and now there are only 3. I mean, I don't know if you have any pets yourselves, but this makes me, very nervous about this. All the animals are suffering because some administration decided to pay people rather than use the volunteers. And then the people that work there, they can't stagger their lunches, so the shelter can only be open for so many hours. I mean, the volunteers have to leave. Nobody can stay there to see prospective adopters. I mean, adopters need time to come in and look at the animals. You got to be there. Most businesses stagger their lunch times. I worked for many companies, and we never left the place. Everybody had a staff member in their department. Somebody to answer the phone, somebody to be there. These are living animals. They're breathing. They're not just some commodity or ornament. It's like you think that these animals are ornaments in their cages? I heard that they're stuck in their kennels from 3 o'clock till 7 o'clock the next day. That's sickening. My dogs go out at 10 o'clock and then they're out at 7 o'clock the next morning. I don't understand. I mean, if people are getting paid to do this, why just stagger their hours? Can't they come in later, stay later? Yeah, I heard that their salaries doubled, so. Right.
Yes. Tell them to.
I don't understand. I mean, now they're not being spayed or neutered.
5 minutes?
Am I over my time?
No.
Okay. Just curious why somebody was asking that. Why aren't the animals being neutered or spayed before they're adopted out? They used to be. And then they charge more than they used to. You can go to any shelter anywhere else where they're neutered, spayed, vaccinated, and you can get the animal cheaper. I guess nobody cares. That's what it seems like. I mean, I heard nobody ever answers anyway, so I'm kind of wasting my time. But I'm hoping more people here that don't know about it, hear about it and realize what's going on. And I don't understand why this meeting had to be broken up. I mean, you could have had a private meeting after we all left, but I guess you were hoping that we would have hit the road. Thank you.
No, that was not the case. Okay. Is there anyone else on the list?
That's it.
That's it for public comments. Close that portion of public comments. Council member comments. Council member comments. Any, Dr. Greenberg?
I would like to talk about that area that the gentleman Sebastian was talking about, down along the boardwalk from where the police substation was. I actually went down there this past week, and I know it's county-owned, and I would ask the administration if they could look into asking the county. I would be willing to pay for signs there to say, please do not feed the cats on the jetty. What happens is, in that area, there are a lot of people. It's first of all, a very convenient area where people do abandon cats. Second of all, the gentleman left, but if he trapped, nude, and spayed or neutered 19 cats, did he put the cats back? Where did the cats go? So there are cats there, and there was a problem. I was asked to go down there because there were some cats that were found deceased and also some birds. So I went down there and I walked along the area, and I realized that it is with the county. There are, as I said, wonderful people throughout this town that always volunteer and seem to step up to it. And they are very concerned about the cats there. And they do trap, neuter, spay, release, vaccinate, release the cats. I did not see food all over the area. In the areas that they were feeding, they put the food down, wait a half hour, collect the food, come back. But there are people that feed on the jetty, and that's a problem. There's several jetties there. So when a mother cat is out there with her kittens, they have a risk of the kittens getting caught between the rocks, getting injured, or when the tide changes, getting caught there. So I would like, and I would be willing to pay for the signs if the township can contact the county, and I would put up signs that please do not feed the cats on the jetty. Second of all, there will hopefully be, with the Trap Neuter Release program, that we identify these areas, which we already know the areas exist, so then these colonies can be managed. And what happens a lot of times from these compassionate individuals that have maintained these cats that are there, they do feel so much for these cats. So when other people are coming in and doing things, they don't know. And that's why I wanted this program so much, so there can be some oversight, so we know what's going on in these areas. This is not an isolated area. This is just one area that I went to look at. There are other areas in town, as we all know, by the hospital, by apartment complexes, by parks. It's endless. But this one is very unique because it's county property. So once also the Trap Neuter Release program comes into effect, if you've ever been to other towns that have this program, that instituted this program, you can put up signs, and then on the sign explains that these cats are being managed. No one else has to come in and do it. There is oversight, and if you have any questions or problems, we can leave a number, and so they know where to, to address their concerns. But it is a concern when I hear that people go in and do this, and, if they spayed, trapped and neutered 19 cats, where are those cats and what went on? And that's the problem. The idea of this program is not to trap these cats and bring them into the shelter. That's not the purpose of it. And also to make sure that the animals are safe. So moving forward, I'm hoping that these things are going to be done, but I am asking if we can reach out to the county and let them know about our concerns down there, and then we can put signage up, and so there's no red, gray area of what has to be done down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Walker.
I would just like to know the status of the TNR. Where are we along on that? Because it was passed on March 27th.
There's a meeting scheduled actually this Friday, including the police department. Councilwoman Anita Greenberg is on that, and also a citizen. They're initially meeting to kickstart, and there are forms and other information to start the TNR program, so they're going to discuss that.
Anybody else on the council have any questions, comments? Okay, council comments are closed. Report of the township clerk.
None at this time.
None at this time. Report of Township Attorney.
None at this time.
None at this time. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Rosencrantz. I have administrative report. I will read it. The month of May, grand openings. The Mayor's Office of Economic Development attended, on your report it says 2, but there were 3. Club Metro in the Boardingtown Shopping Center. Also, within the Club Metro, Kids Hub opened up a facility. So that was the second one. And All About Fun on Route 34 in the Marketplace. We cut the ribbon on that location. The New Jersey Department of Transportation Municipal Aid Program Award for Pleasant Valley Road, as was mentioned before. On May 30th, 2017, the township received a letter of the grant and award in the amount of $341,291 for the Pleasant Valley Road from Marlborough Road to Old Bridge Englishtown Road, County 527. The project will be included in our 2018 capital budget for the balance funding of $75,000 and projected to be completed during the summer of 2018. The New Jersey Clean Communities Program, on June 2nd, 2017, the township received a check in the amount of $117,196.62 for the 2017 New Jersey Clean Communities Program. New Jersey Clean Communities is a comprehensive statewide litter abatement program that has served New Jersey residents over the past 25 years. Anyone needs additional information, the residents should visit the New Jersey Clean Communities website at njclean.org. New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Blue Acres Program, the NJDP Superstorm Sandy Blue Acres team began extending buyout offers to homeowners in Old Bridge in April of 2015. A total of 29 buyout offers have been extended up to date. 26 out of the 29 offers have been accepted. The remaining 3 homeowners have steadfastly refused to sell their homes. Hard copies of the June 5th, 2017 NJDEP Old Bridge Buyout Status Summary Report has been forwarded to the Township Clerk's Office for distribution to council. Good news here, item number 5, the commuter parking lot improvements. Resurfacing of Westminster Boulevard commuter parking lot is now complete. The contractor started the resurfacing of Inverness parking lot on June 7th, and fresh off the presses, I was just given a note that Inverness parking lot was open tonight at 6 p.m. Emails have been sent out to all our residents, so our commuter parking lots are now up and running, and that's good. Hooked on Fishing, Not Drugs, on June 10th, the Municipal Alliance hosted a free fishing lesson at Cheesequake Park between 8:30 and 12:30 for approximately 32 fourth grade students from the Old Bridge Elementary School. All 32 children were selected through an artwork and slogan contest, which illustrates why it isn't better to fish than use drugs. I was there at the park Saturday. It was well attended. Every participant received a free fishing pole to take home with them. Everyone had a great time. Mary Henry's Clean Team on June 17th, which is just Saturday. I and the volunteers from the Madison Township Historical Society, Old Bridge Lightning Baseball, Girl Scout Troop 81179, and Carpenter School 4th Grade Committee will be cleaning litter on Cheesequake Road, Higgins Road, Marlborough Road, and Kearney Avenue. For additional information, residents should contact the Clean Communities Coordinator at 732-721-5600, extension 6107. The Father-Daughter Dinner Dance Program on June 19th at the Recreation Department will host the Father-Daughter Dance at the Civic Center between 7 and 10:30 p.m. This is a daddy-daughter date night for Father's Day. This year, a princess-themed dinner dance complete with DJ, giveaways, professional commemorative photo of you and your little princess. For additional information and registration, please contact the Township Recreation Department, 732-721-5600, extension 4999, or visit the Township website. Recreation and Camp Robin Summer Camp Program. The full day, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., 8-week summer program begins on June 27th and ends on August 13th. Half-day 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. summer camp begins on June 27th and ends on July 28th. Camp Robin Summer Camp from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. begins on June 27th and ends on August 12th. Daily activities include sports, arts and crafts, games, special events, and daily trips. For additional information and registration, please contact the Township Recreation Department, extension 4999, or visit the Township website. Just a reminder, July 4th, all municipal offices will be closed for business in observance of the 4th of July. Middlesex County Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day on July 17th, which is this Saturday. The Old Bridge Township, in conjunction with the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, will be hosting a Middlesex County Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Township Department of Public Works facility located in the municipal complex. This service is for county residents only with proof of residency will be required to participate. For additional information on household hazardous waste drop-off days, residents should contact the Middlesex County Solid Waste Management, 732-745-4170, or visit the Middlesex County website at county.middlesex.nj.us. United States Department of Agricultural Summer Food Service Program, the Middlesex County Food Organization and Outreach Distribution Services, the Middlesex County Food Bank, a network of more than 100 food pantries, soup kitchens, and social service agencies will once again be participating in the USDA Summer Food Service Program, which ensures that low-income children continue to receive nutritious meals when school is not in session. For additional information, residents should contact the USDA Summer Food Service Program at 609-292-4498 or visit the USDA Food and Nutrition website at fns.usda.gov. Finally, the Old Bridge Food Bank Summer Collections. The Old Bridge Food Bank will continue to collect items during the summer months. Collection bins are located in the Municipal Administration Building, Old Bridge Public Library Building, the Recreation Building, Civic Center, and Senior Center. For additional information on the food bank or list of needed items, residents should contact the Old Bridge Food Bank at 732-721-5600, extension 6625, or visit us on the web at the oldbridge.com/foodbank. Council, that concludes my administration report. I will now answer any questions if you have related to the report or any other item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, any questions on the report? Mrs. Sohar?
Yes, on the grand openings, we used to be, no, there was emails sent to us about grand openings, so if we chose to attend, we could. In the last few months, we haven't received them anymore.
Okay, I will check with our office on why you're not getting them.
Okay, thank you.
Just on another, I have another item here. The presentation you've seen tonight with the road will be available on the township website starting tomorrow. Nicole, thank you for that.
Excellent. Any other questions? No other questions?
Thank you, Council.
Motion to accept the report from the mayor. Moved by Councilwoman Sohar, second by Councilwoman Panos. Vote.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos? Yes. Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Motion to introduce? Moved by Councilwoman Panos, second? Second by Councilwoman Dungy. Anyone from the public like to be heard on any one of the agenda items tonight? No hands. Public comments are closed. Council, any separations? Dr. Greenberg.
C9, C11, C13, C14, and C8.
And see, that's it. 9, 11, 13, and 14 is what I have.
Yep.
Anyone else? Number 7 for Mrs. Panos. And I would like to separate just C3.
C11.
C11. That was already called. Okay, motion to move the balance. Motion by, I didn't hear. Mrs. Sohar, second. I'll second the balance. Vote, roll call. Vote.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos? Yes. Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
Thank
on the
you.
ballot.
Okay, C3, authorizing the purchase of electricity supply services for public use, main load on an online auction website. Mr. Shah, I know you know about this. I think it's a great thing for the township.
Yes, it is, Council President. It allows us to the auction to purchase the electric for the township needs for the buildings, all the buildings, as well as the street light. And the street light is generally a little cheaper price versus the electrical purchase for the municipal building. But this is a second round, and I think we saved great deal of money when we went to this service about 2 years back, and we have got very good price and savings. I think we save over $100,000.
That's fantastic.
So I think it's a good program.
Thank you. And I just wanted the public to be aware of that. Move it?
Motion?
Anybody make a motion for me?
I'll move it.
Move it by Councilwoman Panos. I'll second it.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes on C3.
C7, Mrs. Panos, authorizing the Township of Old Bridge to apply for a grant from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for Pounding the Bee program for Camp Robin.
I guess this is just a rah-rah. In the last couple of months, we've had presentations. Camp Robin and the special needs in this town is something that actually attracts people to this town. In the last month, they've won Special Olympics in skating and basketball. And so I just want to say thank you for applying for this grant. It's a music grant so that they'll, coordinate music and things. This is a great town, and volunteers at the Camp Robin are always appreciated too.
Thank you. Motion to move it.
Move it.
Moved by Mrs. Panos, second by Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Okay.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
C9, awarding architectural services associated with the rehabilitation of the Old Bridge Township Civic Center first floor restrooms to Netta Architects in the amount of $12,500. Dr. Greenberg?
Yes, we've done renovations of multiple bathrooms throughout the municipal complex in the past few years. And I know we have to get architectural renderings when we do this by state statute, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so with doing that, if we know we're going to do all the bathrooms, or if we've identified which ones need to be done, would there be a cost savings if we had them do all of them at once instead of piecemeal? Can you do that? Is there any savings to the architect? Some of the bathrooms are mirrors of each other, so I think that it would be sensible to do it that
I'll
way.
let Nicole.
Mrs. Shapiro?
The way we have it set up is that we're going to the same architect to do each of the bathrooms as we have funding for. So the way that they are similar to each other is a cost savings in itself. We don't have to pick the materials again. We use the same architect who was the lowest bidder the first go-around. So when we had done the administration side of the building, they were the lowest out of the 4, I believe we had requested, by far the lowest, extremely responsive to us. And as we have the funding for, in our operating budget to cover their consultant cost, and then in our capital program to cover the construction costs, we do it as we have the funding. Currently, I only have partial funding for the bathroom for the Civic Center. However, come this August, we should hopefully be approved for CDBG funding for the remaining portion. So it's only as funding becomes available. Certainly, I would love to do all the bathrooms at once, but because they know the infrastructure of this building, because they have all the backup documents for the complex itself, it is a cost savings in itself.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Can I have a motion to move it?
I'll move it.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second.
Second.
I didn't hear who.
Second.
Mrs. Sohar. Second by Mrs. Sohar. Vote.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
C11, Chapter 159 in the amount of $341,291 for New Jersey Department of Transportation Pleasant Valley Road improvements. Dr. Greenberg.
Actually, this was explained before, when we separated, but I just didn't know with this planning, was this gonna involve that site triangle near Route 18 also?
Which one was it?
Yeah, it's the 11th, the one I've talked to you about before.
No.
Across from the Walmart, they're not, is there any movement on that? It's very dangerous at night.
Yeah, I did talk to DOT, and the end result on the letter that they had sent back to me, I actually met out there with them, with one of the engineers in my department, and basically 4 staff members from DOT, and I have to give you the letter, a copy of the letter, Councilwoman Walker, I apologize for not doing it beforehand. They sent me a letter basically saying it's our problem. It's our road that's causing the issue, that our road is dark, that there should be a striping shoulder line, that they should be, that we should widen our road. When I had explained to them, they're the choke point. That curb is sticking out into oncoming traffic. And they said, no, it's not our fault, it's your fault, and it's the property that's adjacent, it's their fault. And I had said, when people travel on Route 18 northbound and they come onto Spring Valley Road going eastbound, they are now almost turning onto opposing traffic. I have put that in a letter to them, and I've put them on notice that any liability is on them. So now they're throwing the liability back on me. At that point, when I had gotten the letter, I had discussed with Chris on my rebuttal back to them. And we had said, all right, let's just take a minute to step back away from it. I don't want it a war of words. There's going to come a point where they're going to need to talk to me about something, and I'm going to bring it up again, kindly, and see if they could address it that way. In our capital improvement projects, I know that you've seen that I've come to you with right-of-way dedication, especially along Spring Valley Road. My intent is to improve that road once we have funding. I mean, I don't want to wait that long. They should do something about it. I showed them the right-of-way plans. That's their right-of-way. They need to do something. So I'm going to stay on top of it. I haven't ignored it. I just haven't gotten back to it.
Yeah, it's very dangerous at night. If you're coming down there, it's dark, and you can easily go off the road.
Agreed. I mean, I sat out there, and every single comment that I had made, the head of their rapid design group was rebutting it. But when we left that meeting, I felt that he understood exactly what I was saying. It wasn't until 6 weeks after that meeting that he said that him and his design team went back and decided that it wasn't their issue, it was ours. But I will revisit it with DOT.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more question from Ms. Sohar?
Yeah, Nicole, is there any way as a council we could do something, make a resolution, send something out that would show how strongly we feel about this issue?
I don't know how it works, but any support that I can get, I would appreciate. Yeah, sure.
I just think maybe, as a group, if we send it out pointing out how severely dangerous this is, that at least we're trying to help get this resolved, this situation resolved.
Perhaps I could give our attorney a copy of the letter I had sent them and a copy of their rebuttal, and maybe we could talk about what's our next step as far as a resolution of support. Thank you.
We'll take care of that. Can I have a motion, please?
Move it.
But
I didn't hear. Moved by Dr. Greenberg, I think? And second by Mrs. Dungy. Vote, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
C13, canceling real estate taxes on various properties deleted from the tax rolls for 2017 in the amount of $11,155.79. Dr. Greenberg.
That was an error. I understand it now. I just wanted to
Okay,
say
can we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second? Second by, is that your hand? I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Sohar.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes. C14, granting permission for Old Bridge Township Raceway Park to hold a mass assembly event, Rugged Races LLC, DBA Rugged Maniac on July 8th and 9th, 2017, a Saturday and a Sunday. Dr. Greenberg.
My question is, when they have these mass assemblies, do they contribute to the police to cover for traffic control and things like that?
Yes, whenever Raceway Park has an event, they pay for police. This past weekend was the Summer Nationals, and whatever's required for their event, they cover the cost of.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on C14? Motion to move it?
Move it.
Move it by Dr. Greenberg. Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Walker. Was that Ms. Walker or Ms. Dungy? Ms. Dungy. Roll call.
Ms. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Six yes.
Ordinance for first reading, FR1, amending certain sections of ordinances 2016-20, 2016-21, 2016-22, 2016-23, and 2016-24, which previously amended Chapter 250 of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge entitled Old Bridge Township Land Development Ordinance. Mr. Attorney.
This matter was brought up, I believe, about a month ago. This is, has changes to it that if you've reviewed it, they're underlined in bold. As to the changes, they're by the special master requirements for the COA housing. And so this is up now for first reading. Not for first readings.
Any questions from council? Can I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos. Second. I'll second it. Vote.
Mrs. Dungy?
No.
Dr. Greenberg?
No.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
No.
Mrs. Walker?
No.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
2 yes, 4 no.
FR2, motion fails. FR2, amending Chapter 250 of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge entitled Old Bridge Township Land Development Ordinances by amending Section 250-66. Mr. Attorney.
This was a matter that was raised, I believe, by Dr. Greenberg that was addressed with regard to development fees, which accepts when you have an existing structure, an owner-occupied residential structure, prior and subsequent to the change to a more intense use, that the developer shall be exempt from paying the development fee.
Any questions by council?
Questions? We get to discuss this at first reading?
First reading.
First reading, no question. Motion, please.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Greenberg. Second by Councilwoman Dungy. Vote.
Mrs. Dungy?
No.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
No.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
4 yes, 2 no.
Liquor license, we can move this as a group, LL1
Yes.
to LL2. Anyone from the public would like to be heard on this? Council, any questions? Does anybody have to recuse themselves for any item on this list? Any business, organization? Okay. Make a motion?
Move it.
By Dr. Greenberg,
No, Ms. Sohar, seconded.
Mrs. Sohar, we can't hear you down here.
Okay, I'll yell.
Okay.
second by Ms. Sohar?
No, she moved it.
I made the motion and you seconded, right? Okay.
Seconded.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
I forgot the public. Okay, let's go back to the public comments, sorry. Public comments on any subject matter. Anybody from the public would like to be heard? Everybody waited, okay. Name and address for the record, please.
Lisa Miller. I live on Terrell Road in Old Bridge. You guys should all know that by now. I have a couple questions. According to your website, a few years ago, your salaries at the shelter for one full-time employee, one part-time employee, and the captain ranged on an average $175,000. Now, a few years later, you have 2 full-time employees, 2 part-time employees, 1 coordinator, 1 captain, and a new lieutenant involved, totaling over $353,000 a year. So I was curious, all of this seems to, I'm only accountant, so I'm not good at math. It seems that it doubled. So I'm curious, what improvements did the taxpayers get for that doubling in spending our money? I would like to know, is it justified, the doubling?
Just public comments.
Okay, so no one's going to answer me. Second comment is in reference to a Kathleen Jack sent an email on June 9th at 9 a.m., including the entire council, the mayor, the coordinator, and several news people, and I believe the NJSPCA, asking about 2 cats, Lady and Chestnut, who were in distress, and another cat, Smokey, in which was losing hair. I would like to know, were they actually taken to the vet? I know the employees at the shelter spent some time reviewing the videotape to see if Miss Jack was there, rather than helping the animals. And I've seen the video Miss Jack has of this, and it's appalling. The cats are screaming, not one employee is helping them, and I would like to know, I know you guys can't answer, so it's just, a question I'm throwing out there. Have these cats actually been brought to the vet? Has anyone done anything to help these cats to justify their $353,000 salary? And you mentioned that the TNR has a meeting on Friday, June 15th. Did you say that citizens were involved, that they could attend? Is this a closed meeting? Because as a person that helped advocate to get TNR here, I would like to attend that meeting to see where you guys are, considering you guys did contact me to get the ordinance from a different town to provide it to you guys? No? Again, no one's allowed to answer? Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? One more.
Robert Thompson, Cliffwood Beach. I just have one question, and it's not meant in a derogatory way or anything. The rec building in Cliffwood Beach, we spoke about it many times, and I understand it's going to be set up for demolished or to be demolished or whatever. A resident just spoke to me recently. He said he thought there might be some power in there, so if we could just check that out, it would be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Close the public portion. Council member comments? Anyone? No council member comments? Yeah, close the council member comments. Motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Moved by somebody down here.
Dungy.
Ms. Dungy. Second? I'll second. Roll call.
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mrs. Panos? Mrs. Sohar? Yes. Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
6 yes.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.